When people remember Donald O'Connor, they usually remember the flips, the impossible energy, and the performer who seemed able to run up a wall and land with a grin. But behind that dazzling athleticism was a man shaped by hardship long before Hollywood ever knew his name. Born into a vaudeville family in Chicago, O'Connor grew up on the road. The stage was his classroom, and timing was something he learned before algebra. Applause became as natural to him as breathing. Yet his childhood was not without pain. The early loss of siblings left deep scars, but instead of breaking him, those experiences built a resilience that would define his entire life. By the time he arrived in Hollywood as a child actor, O'Connor wasn't just talented. He was seasoned. Through the 1930s and 1940s, he became one of the most dependable young performers at Universal Pictures, smoothly transitioning from boyish sidekick to leading man. Audiences loved his musical comedies and the lightning-fast dance routines that made difficult choreography look effortless. Then came 1952 and a film that would cement his place in movie history. In Singin' in the Rain, starring alongside Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds, O'Connor delivered one of the most explosive performances of the golden age of Hollywood. His unforgettable number, Make 'Em Laugh, was a whirlwind of slapstick comedy and astonishing athleticism. The routine pushed him so hard that he reportedly had to stay in bed for several days afterward. Yet when O'Connor spoke about the film later in life, his pride rarely focused on his own performance. Instead, he often praised Debbie Reynolds. He never hesitated to acknowledge her determination. At the time, Reynolds had very little formal dance training, yet she suddenly found herself performing beside two seasoned professionals. O'Connor watched as she rehearsed tirelessly, pushing through exhaustion and blisters, refusing to fall behind. He admired not only her talent but her determination. Off-camera, he described her as delightful, funny, and magnetic. Someone who could light up an entire room. In an industry that could be ruthless, he recognized her kindness. In a studio system that demanded perfection, he saw the quiet strength it took to endure constant pressure. Behind the bright smile audiences saw on screen, he understood there were personal struggles, studio expectations, and relentless scrutiny. To O'Connor, Debbie Reynolds was more than the charming ingenue splashing through a rainstorm. She was strength wrapped in sparkle. Years later, he would describe her as being like family. Their bond had been forged during the intense production schedules of studio-era filmmaking. Long rehearsals, demanding choreography, and the pressure to deliver perfection created something deeper than a simple co-star relationship. It created genuine friendship. As the decades passed, O'Connor's career continued across television, Las Vegas stages, and Broadway. Even in later films like Out to Sea, his comic timing remained as sharp as ever. But years of physically demanding performances eventually took their toll. In 1990, he underwent quadruple bypass surgery, and in 1999 he survived a near-fatal case of pneumonia. Still, the same resilience that carried him through childhood tragedy and the pressures of Hollywood helped him recover once again. Looking back on his life, O'Connor often spoke with gratitude. Gratitude for the laughter, the music, and the career that allowed him to entertain millions. And whenever Debbie Reynolds was mentioned, his admiration never faded. "There'll never be another Debbie Reynolds," he once said, not as nostalgia, but as a simple statement of fact. On September 27, 2003, Donald O'Connor passed away at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital, bringing to a close a life that began in vaudeville and helped define the movie musical. Yet in his reflections, especially in the warmth he expressed toward Debbie Reynolds, we see something deeper than choreography or comedy. We see a man who understood that behind the sequins and the spotlight were real people. Tired, determined, vulnerable, and brave. And in sharing his true feelings about Debbie Reynolds, Donald O'Connor left more than a tribute to a co-star. He left a reminder that the greatest performances are built not only on talent, but on respect, resilience, and heart.